told me at 28 that I would be chronically single, never dated, living in an RV with my cat, I would have been like, no way, I'm getting married at 22. I'm having 7 kids, each 2 years apart. Like, I had it all planned out, but crazy that God doesn't work on our schedule and our plan. This weekend, I was really just like processing that, wow, life didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it, at least so far. And I know I'm young, like I have so much life ahead of me, but I didn't plan to be here at this point.
Well, you'll have plenty of time to live in a van down by the river when you're living in a van down by the river.
Okay, right, interesting. And whose fault is it exactly that your plans didn't come into fruition? Now, it's really easy to blame extenuating circumstances, but that's rarely the case, woman. You could have easily been married at 22 with a whole mess of kids if you just picked the right guy. I mean, you said it yourself, sister, you're chronically single, which implies that you go on dates with multiple men, but it never really goes anywhere. But it's all because these experiences are the responsibility of a higher power, and it really doesn't work that way regardless of your faith. But it's also unsurprising. Joining a religion after you reach the age of 30 is pretty much commonplace for the modern woman nowadays. You squandered up your life and then you made a mess of everything, and now you're turning to the church to fix you, but it doesn't really work that way. You can seek absolution and forgiveness all you want. I mean, that's totally fine, but that doesn't absolve you of the consequences of the decisions that you made. And the really sad part is that I am part of a religion that's trying to bring forth intergalactic space apocalypse, and even I know this.
And I guess this is when all those verses I learned about as a kid about trusting God come into play, and I have to trust him. It's easier said than done. This weekend was not an easy weekend, but I'm trusting God that he has a plan, and his plan is better than what my plans were, and I know they are. And he sees me where I am, and he loves me, and he's has a better plan for me, and he's holding me back from things that I think would be better because he loves me, because he knows what's best for me.
Blasphemer!
And once again, a guy who's barely a Christian needs to come up online and explain to you the fundamentals of the faith that you claim to follow. I mean, lady, one of the core tenets of Christianity is the concept of free will. Yes, God may have a plan for you, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to follow that plan. Now, I know you're expecting this gigantic, wonderful life to be served up to you on a silver platter with a big, bright neon sign that says this is a gift from God, but it doesn't work that way, not even close. Let's go ahead and set back the clock about 10 years. I am willing to bet there were plenty of guys out there who are interested in you. Now, I know better than to speak of the plans from the man upstairs because that's his business and none of mine. But one thing you're failing to understand here is that all of those verses you learned as a child were intended to guide you to make better decisions as you grew up, and you ignored all of them only to turn around when you're almost 30 and your ovaries are barren to then start thinking about it again. Which is fine, it's better late than never, but that doesn't absolve you of the consequences of your actions.
And before you come at me like, oh my goodness, you should be grateful for what you have an incredible life. First of all, chill out. Second of all, I'm not perfect. Sue me. But I am truly grateful for the life that God has given me and the opportunities that I've been given because I'm single and I wouldn't have if I was married. But it doesn't change the fact that sometimes I'm like, this is not the plan that I had for me. But God's plans are better. And I'm trusting that.
Great plan.
Thank you.
He likes your plan, Chief.
Okay, so my question is, what exactly do you think this plan is? Do you think you're just going to be delivered a guy who's going to pump you up full of babies and you're going to live in a big house and be happy for the rest of your life? That's really not how faith works. It's not just some delivery service where you can pray and have all of your hopes and dreams delivered to you. Now, I'm not knocking religion here. It is incredibly difficult to lead a life of faith, and I respect anybody who's able to do it without faltering. But it's becoming all too common for modern women, once they reach the age of 30, to turn to the church and expect the man upstairs to fix them. Case in point, you're sitting in your van and you're talking about how God's plan is better than what you want for yourself, even though you're sitting around and doing nothing. You're not reflecting on your personal life. You're not going through any type of personal growth. You're just waiting for something good to happen to you, but you're not willing to do anything to make that happen, and free will is a cornerstone of the faith which you currently follow. But when a modern woman turns to the church, it really just goes to show how far they're willing to go just so they can get away with doing nothing.
Good luck.
Women with low standards are more obsessed with how they're seen. Women with high standards are more obsessed with how they're treated. A woman with low standards is more likely to people please in order to be seen as generous, Whereas a woman with high standards is more likely to want to be treated like a goddess so that she can actually give with genuine reciprocation. A woman with low standards centers her identity around being chosen. A woman with high standards gatekeeps her values for the right man. A woman of a low standard talks badly about herself so that others will feel inclined to rescue her, but a woman of high value decides her worth before others decide it for her. A woman of low standard measures her worth off a man's effort. A woman of high standard measures a man's worth off his effort.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
You know what? Respect there, Crusty Cheeks. It is awfully interesting to see a woman who has aged out of the dating market and still insists that she is entitled to high standards, even though those are the very same high standards that have left you completely single and absolutely miserable. Now, if we're following the basic laws of Chadnomics here, we really need to take a look at the concept of your low standards. So if we're using Chad as a baseline here, we can determine that what you mean by low standards is any man that's just basically average. Yeah, he's okay looking, has an okay job, maybe is living in an okay place, nothing too crazy, but you know, just average. And you're expecting those men to pay for the crimes of your poor decision making. It's the average men who are evil, it's the average men who are players, it's the average men who do all of the terrible things, and it's only the good looking men who actually are loyal. But lady, I hate to break it to you, but it's impossible for us to be guilty of those crimes when you have been ignoring us for decades.
It's the subtle mindset shift that you can adopt by taking your power back from the good girl conditioning that is designed to keep you weak and feeble and running back to the same companies that act like they are the savior to your low self-worth. Don't let your confidence and your high self-worth be policed out of you. You deserve to have high standards, and you deserve to have people who meet them.
Day and night she talks, each word more useless than the next.
The more videos I watch of modern women just caking endless amounts of makeup onto their face, the more I'm convinced that these chemical products are degrading what precious few brain cells they have left. I mean, lady, you have absolutely no idea what's going on here. You do realize the concept of high standards was designed to keep you single, right? Now, I'm nothing if not sensitive to people with massive brain deficiencies, so I'm gonna choose my words very simply for you, lady. Men don't like women with high standards. And that is because these women with high standards are just not nice people. In fact, they are booger faces. They say mean things, they act like children, and they blame everyone around them just so long as they don't have to own up to their bad decisions. And it wouldn't kill you to, you know, just be nice to the people around you, but I understand that you're incapable of doing that because doing so would actually force you to admit that you're wrong, and there is nothing that puts the fear of God into a modern woman quite like being forced to admit that she's wrong about something.
Shut your dirty little mouth!
You know, I really love how dedicated to crypto you are. Like, most people would have sold when it still had value, but you just keep holding on. I love the fact that I can wear your shoes. Like, my ex's feet were so big, I was swimming in his shoes, but these, they're just my size. Wow, babe, I love how vintage your car is. Like, no CarPlay or anything. That stuff's really confusing anyways. You like to keep it simple. Baby, you're so fun to cuddle. Like, sometimes when I cuddle other guys, it's so muscular, it's like laying on a rock. But you are so cute and squishy. You're like my cute little Pillsbury Doughboy.
Alright, woman, if you really do feel the need to go out of your way to make passive-aggressive insults to a man who cares about you, then you're not humbling this guy. You're just being verbally abusive. But hey, I'm all for equality, so if you're going to humble men, it's only fair for you to receive some humility yourself. So here's a good one. Wow, babe, I love how you don't care about how you look. My ex always insisted on looking gorgeous every single day for me, but you're so relaxed that you just go with the flow and just let all of your folds slide out. And of course, it's so cool that the only thing that you have that resembles a hobby is scrolling mindlessly through Instagram. Women who actually have lives and do fun things are just so boring. And I love how you don't think for yourself and let TikTok do your thinking for you. Because I know, I get it, thinking is too hard and it keeps things simple for you. I know how hard it is for you to think after all. And personally, I think it's admirable that you spend 8 hours a day recording makeup tutorials even though nobody watches them. Most normal women would have given up, but you're so determined. That's nice. Or how about, you know what, sweetheart? I find it refreshing how loose you are down there. It was so hard to have bedroom fun with my ex because it was almost too tight. So how about it, babe? You feeling humbled yet?
Right on, brother, I hear you. Man, I hear you.
We're going to take a quick break from the action to give a personal shout out to the fine members of the Bounty Board over on Patreon. Their generosity allows me to continue to create content every single day for you fine gentlemen and gents out there, and it is unbelievably awesome to know that there are men out there who enjoy this work and want to contribute, and I cannot thank you enough for your generosity and your support. So thank you, Bounty Board. You're all scholars and saints in my book. All hail! And if you're interested in supporting my work, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where $5 a month will get you access to exclusive content you're not going to find on YouTube. The link is in the pinned comment down below, and you can always support my work by liking this video, sharing, commenting, and if you're enjoying my content, then I hope I've earned your subscription today.
I'm 22 years old and I have $37,515 worth of credit debt. I also have a $7,992 student loan. I also still owe $55,829 on my car. In total, I have about $100,000 worth of debt. If you're anything like me, you haven't made any credit card payments in over 6 months. You have creditors calling you every single day, and you're feeling hopeless.
Yeah, you should. Waiter, do you have fried bumblebees today?
You know what? Through all of this, the only thing that's really shocking is that her lowest amount of debt is about $8,000 for student loans. I mean, lady, let's think about this for a second here. You have the GDP of a small country's worth of debt in credit cards and your car note. Like, lady, what in the hell are you doing driving a car that expensive? I mean, last time I checked, all you need is some transportation. You don't need the finest thing off the freaking line. And you're 22 years old, so it's actually kind of impressive that you've been able to rack up over $100,000 worth of debt, which literally 95% of which could have been easily avoidable with just some responsible spending. Now, I understand that you have no idea how the concept of credit works, but it's not just free money. You're actually expected to pay that back. But you apparently disregarded that technicality and just decided to go live your best life while swiping for literally everything. And you somehow expect us to have sympathy for your irresponsibility? Yeah, that's not gonna happen there, sweetheart.
But don't stress out, there's an answer to everything, and you'll get through this, I'll get through this, we'll get through this together. As of today, my credit score is a 498. So join me on this journey to pay off my debts. We'll see how high I can get my credit score. I'm also not here to give financial advice, obviously. I'd probably be the worst person for that, but if you want to watch me tackle this debt, I'll keep my TikTok updated, and yeah.
Woman, I really don't think you appreciate the amount of dog dookie you're in right now. You are not even 25 and you have somehow, through an act of the intergalactic space god Lagoma card, all hail, to accumulate over $100,000 worth of debt, and you have absolutely no plan on how you're even going to begin to pay it off. Now, we already know that you probably dropped a couple of G's on those god-awful tattoos of yours. How are those making you feel, by the way? I'm sure you feel stunning and brave because of it, and I do appreciate how you're not saying that you're willing to give out financial advice, because that is just an absolutely terrifying thought. But I simply cannot fathom how you were able to do that in the span of 4 years. That's 25 grand worth of debt per year. Like, how do you do it, woman? I'm honestly kind of impressed. But good luck on that journey, sweetheart. I hope you know that trying to pay off that much debt is gonna take you literally the rest of your life. So go ahead and think about that, sweetheart. You're screwed.
You blew it. Capiche?
Would you guys listen to anything I ever said if I look like this?
No.
It's tempting. Anyway, girls are always like, he fumbled a baddie, he fumbled a baddie, he doesn't realize that he fumbled a baddie, he's gonna regret fumbling a baddie. He knows he fumbled a baddie, babe. He knows you're a baddie. He knows he fumbled a baddie. You being a baddie was the problem. You gave someone a chance who's not used to baddies. And that sounds fine and great. That's exciting at first. But there's a lot that goes into being with a baddie. There's a lot that goes into being a baddie. It's not for the faint of heart. It looks like it's all fun and games from the outside, but it's not for the faint of heart, babe.
What?
Oh, lady, it looks like you spent the majority of your intellect trying to skin some type of a farm creature that you've got wrapped around your body, so I guess I'm just going to have to explain things to you. If you are claiming to be a baddie, that's not a good thing. That's why it's called bad. And to be honest, being a baddie is one of the easiest things you could possibly do. It means that you get to be spoiled, you get to be unpleasant, treat the entire world around you like complete and utter garbage, and not take responsibility for anything. That's the very definition of easy. Well, maybe not easy, but definitely lazy. And the guys that left you didn't fumble you. They kicked you away because of how terrible you are. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain contexts where being bad is a good thing, but I don't see you trying to take on an entire army of ninjas who kidnap Ronald Reagan, so I don't really think it applies here. I mean, come to think of it, I really don't think you're even capable of fighting off one or two slow and overweight ninjas, let alone an entire army. So yeah, in that context, you really are just bad, and not in a good way.
It's like being a celebrity. Everyone wants to be famous, but when it's time for the tire to hit the road, most people couldn't take it. So yes, he knows he lost a baddie, but he got his little cookie points with his friends. He gets to be the martyr for the rest of his life and be like, oh my god, remember the time I fumbled a baddie, and feel bad for himself.
Like, people talking, he said, huh? What are you talking about?
He gets to throw your name around town and tell everyone that he dated you. All the other little bottom feeders will want to date him because you dated him, and they want to wear your skin and they want to be you. So he's going to get those little, parasites.
And you get a reaction from people who say, huh? What are you talking about?
Yeah, lady, you clearly have no idea how self-respecting men operate. If they are kicking one of these so-called baddies to the curb, they aren't lamenting to their buddies about how they fumbled. They're actually scoring a touchdown, and they are celebrating because you are out of his life. And all of those parasitic bottom feeders that you just love to insult are the types of women that men want because A, they're peaceful, B, they're friendly, and C, they aren't going to treat them like dirt just because they have an overinflated sense of self-worth. And I personally can't help but appreciate the irony that you're calling these fine women parasites when you're the one who wants to latch onto a man and use him for his resources. You want to mooch off of him and provide him nothing but return, and by doing so, you just increase the odds of him getting some sort of an infection. But then again, one of the classic symptoms of being a baddie is just throwing all sorts of bitterness towards any woman who actually wants to be nice to her man, so I guess that's really not all surprising when you think about it.
Truth is, he wasn't built for a baddie. He couldn't afford a baddie. He never could have afforded a baddie. And even if you were okay with him not being able to afford your baddiness, that still made him feel shitty about himself because the people that you dated before him were like, rock stars and athletes. So at first he's like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same boat as like rock stars and athletes. And then he realizes like, oh, I'm the safe option.
F you! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
Yeah, lady, it's almost as if self-respecting men don't appreciate being the backup plan for a modern woman who decided to try to score herself a rock star or an athlete and then decided to settle for him because he was the safe option. And then to add insult to injury, you're expecting him to give you a first-class lifestyle with expensive dinners, gifts, and trips, and because he doesn't want to do any of that, then all of a sudden he's the bad guy because he can't afford you, even though affording you is not really worth it. Now, I understand. No, truly, I do. The time bomb known as your biological clock is slowly ticking down to zero, and instead of actually reflecting on yourself and maybe trying to be a better person, you're just going to lash out at the men who want nothing to do with you. You're a baddie. You can't help yourself. But if you're going to insist on being a baddie who's got bad baddiness, then you can't really be all that surprised when self-respecting men take a look at you and then just realize that you're like a carton of milk that's been left out in the sun. It's just gone bad and isn't worth having.
And there's nothing wrong with being the safe option. Us baddies need a safe place to land. All right? We're tired of the rock stars and athletes sometimes. We just want a good guy. But he couldn't put on that good guy facade for any longer. So he knows he fumbled a baddie. Don't worry about that. He's gonna have to deal with that. But remember, keep your standards high. Don't ever hard launch a man. And learn something from this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, that's where you're wrong, woman. There's everything wrong with forcing a man to be your backup plan because, well, let's just be real here. You're telling that guy that he wasn't good enough for you while you were out there partying, but now that you're old and you're crusting up, that now all of a sudden he's totally fine for you and needs to accept you as you are, as an aged-out baddie who has nothing to offer. You claim to want a good guy, but why didn't you go and get yourself one? Oh wait, that's right, I forgot. You're a baddie, so therefore you overestimate your value. Now, it was your choice. You actively made the decision to live that particular lifestyle, and because you're a baddie, you kind of deny yourself access to the good men because they're good and you're bad. That man is under no obligation to take you after you've been run through by Chad, Tyrone, Raphael, Marco, Chang, Wang, Takeda, and Hauser. It's not his responsibility. If anything, you should be thankful. As a baddie, you went ahead and lived your bad self and destroyed your bad life with your baddiness. So why don't you go ahead and show us all how it's done there, sister? Unless you can, because as we all know, you're bad at that as well. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.